and welcome to Empress Kupona, your healing voice. I'm Mandy, and today we're amplifying real stories of resilience, from surviving harm to thriving through advocacy and healing. We're joined today by Tammie, a devoted parent and a fierce advocate for her two adopted children who are on the autism spectrum and have very complex needs. Her journey illuminates the challenges of finding truly individualized supports. It's also the power of persistence and practical strategies that families can use to protect their well-being while pursuing advocate-driven change. We'll begin with the background that shaped her path and the concrete steps that have helped her and her family navigate systems. So let's dive in. Welcome, Tammie. I am so grateful for your willingness to share your family's story and your journey. Can you share why you chose to come on to Empress Kupona and tell us a little bit about yourself and your children?
Certainly. I believe that children with special needs, whether it just be they're different or they have complex needs or on the spectrum, whatever it may be, that it's a lifelong journey. It doesn't end when they become adults. You have to fight for your children and make sure they get what they need. My son is 23, adopted at 4 months old. My daughter is 21, adopted at 8 years old. And both are on the spectrum, both have ADHD and other diagnoses, but theirs different as day and night. It's been a journey of ups and downs, advocating for essential, adequate, appropriate, helpful, and individualized services for both. I am fierce in advocating for each of them. I don't take no for an answer very well.
That is actually really good. I'm glad to hear you're really fighting for that, because I'm sure the systems and the challenge going through all of that is quite challenging. Your story highlights the ups and downs of advocating for individualized services. What were some of the biggest hurdles that you faced, especially living in a smaller community?
When my children were young, there were not as many trained people that would come to smaller communities to work with my children. When my children were young, we lived in Airdrie. That meant service providers had to come from the Calgary region. And while there were lots of agencies there, they did not have people that will travel. They don't pay mileage. They don't pay gas. A lot of them wouldn't put the time and effort to coming to where my children were. So I had to rely on the school system a lot, which sucked big time.
Yeah, I can imagine. I know the school system now is just, as we know, there was a big teacher strike. Going through all of that and knowing that you had these special needs, how did you handle the resistance or these challenges from the agencies and schools along the way?
It helped that I had 15 years of educational assistant behind me, so I knew how to work with my own children. It got to the point where I actually had to leave my job because I didn't have the energy to put the effort in to the children I worked with and my children at home. So I had to make the decision that my children were more important and that I needed to emphasize working with them. I made sure that we had a pediatrician, because usually general practitioners aren't very good with knowing the specialists and things like that. So I made sure I had a good pediatrician. And I made sure to do my research and tell the pediatrician what I wanted, what specialists I wanted, and for them to refer my children. The school was a nightmare. When we moved from Saskatchewan to Alberta, my son had an aide. He went through early childhood intervention in Saskatchewan. We moved to Alberta. I told them my child did not have a diagnosis yet, as he had just started kindergarten. They would not believe me. They would not take the recommendations of the school in Saskatchewan. They said, oh no, we'll just put him in the kindergarten class and we'll deal with it. Within 2 weeks, all the meetings started, and you need to do this and you need to do that. When we finally got the diagnosis of autism and ADHD at 6 years old, they finally gave him supports. He had 3 rotating aides. But these aides were not very well trained. They did not know how to do specialized holds, or when you think of when someone says my kids were climbing on the walls, that is literally my son. When they couldn't handle him, they put him in a locked room with nothing in it, with a window, and watched him from outside the window and called me until I could come pick him up. This pretty much went on from kindergarten to grade 8. He's run away from schools. He's put schools in lockdown, put a plastic bag over a staff member's head one day. He tried to get a school bus to run over him when he was young. Before he even started school, he was kicked out of 3-day homes and 2 daycares until we could get him specialized care. It wasn't until he was in grade 8 that they finally found an even more specialized school in Red Deer. We live in Carstairs, so he was bused to Red Deer every day for 3 years until COVID hit. This specialized school only had 10 students in it, 4 or 5 aides, to a classroom teacher, plus a social worker, a therapy dog. My son finally started thriving at school when he was in grade 8. I have had teachers tell me they didn't want him in his classroom, that I needed to do better as a parent. The Rocky View school system was horrible to deal with, horrible for my son. He still carries that trauma from being in school to this day. When he was in kindergarten, he had drawn a picture for his kindergarten teacher as a present. His kindergarten teacher literally ripped it up into his face and said, "I don't want it," because he just could not handle how disruptive my son was in class. To this day, Michael won't color, he won't draw. He doesn't like to be praised, he doesn't like to be complimented, he doesn't like to be the center of attention. When you are proud of him for something, you have to keep it to a bare minimum to compliment him or tell him that you like something. Otherwise, his anxiety builds too much and he can't handle it anymore.
That blows me away. Like, to be told that you're being a bad parent and that your kid is just a problem, when in reality, you're just fighting to survive. Nobody wants to help you, but then everybody's blaming you. Like, that would have taken all your energy and all your time, but yet you're still trying to advocate, still trying to do what's best for your children because you love your children. I can really see now why you're such a big advocate for this, because I can't even imagine the pain and suffering you and your kids went through. To have him now still to this day in adulthood be traumatized from a teacher, of all people who should be helping to advocate. So through all of that, those struggles, you had to quit your job, you had to basically change your entire life. So how did you manage still having the time and energy to advocate for these individual needs?
My husband and I eventually started our own business, and that allowed me to have more time to pick up Michael from school, to take him to work with me, or go to the school and diffuse a situation. It was tough, and we had no respite at the time, especially when we lived in Airdrie. It was just my husband and I, and we didn't take holidays. Michael doesn't travel well. So it was hard mentally, physically, exhausting. To this day, it's still exhausting. You don't really get any reprieve.
So there's still not a lot of respite care for you, because even though they're adults, you still have to attend to their daily needs. It's still just as stressful for you, is it not?
I'd actually say it got slightly better. We've had 4 different disability support workers work with my children here. I'm the one that found them all. Even though we were with an agency, I had to do all the footwork, find them, send them to the agency. The agency did some training. We had one lovely lady, her name is Julie. She was with us for 7 years. That woman was a godsend. She was the most beautiful, caring. She was just amazing. To this day, we consider her family. She's moved on. to a different disability support agency, and she's moving up in the world through management, which is great because she knows her stuff. My kids thrived with her. The agency, not so much. Her and I basically sidetracked the agency and did all of our planning, what the kids needed, what they needed to do. I believe they were in it for the money. They just did not put the effort into it. I had to put all the effort into making sure my kids had the supports they needed. My kids also had a world-class psychiatric pediatrician at the children's hospital. She's retired now, but she was with my kids, well, Michael first, and then when we adopted Destiny, it was Destiny. But she advocated for my kids. She got testing done. She called the schools. She sent letters to the schools. She made sure that they listened. FSCD at that time did listen. We did the best that we could. Unfortunately, the school in Olds, which only has special needs children in it, my son was only there for not even a month, and he actually put the school in lockdown. He had stolen the keys to the whole school, and the school was in lockdown. After that, he was asked to leave the school because they didn't want to put the other special needs kids at risk. I understood that. Michael was highly volatile. So they had his aide come to our home every morning, I think it was for about 4 months, and teach Michael. After that, they found the specialized school for him in Red Deer. My daughter continued at the school in Old, and she did very well there. She, at that time, wasn't volatile at all, just on the spectrum with her other diagnoses. She graduated from there. I'm very proud of the work she put in and the work that the school did with her also.
That's a lot of hurdles you've had to go through. And I'm just wondering, when were you finally able to get people to listen to you? It seems you tried so many different things, and other than Julie, which was great, at what point did you find people finally started to listen, and what effort did it take to actually get there?
Let's say they're still not listening. I still have to fight for every inch of supports that I get for the kids, even now. We have another new support worker who is also very well educated. She's been with us since September, and my kids have taken to her very well, which I'm very grateful for. But unfortunately, my kids have to share a worker, so that means Michael gets 3 days of work of a disability support worker. My daughter gets 2 days a week of a disability support worker, when really both of them need 5 days a week. Where we live, there are not enough trained people to do this job. The pay sucks. The pay really sucks. The funding needs to be better to be able to pay these people for what they do. It's a very important job that they do. It's very physically demanding. It's very emotionally demanding. The government needs to step up and give better funding for pay.
Yeah, that seems to be quite the issue. Do you feel there's been any, you did say people are still not listening and it definitely needs to be better. Is there anything you know of that's already in motion to advocate to the government to say, hey, that maybe other people could join if they didn't know was there? How can other people get involved in helping push this more to get resources and better help for people like yourself?
Our current government does a poor job of helping people with disabilities. They won't release the numbers of children waiting on the FSC list to get funding. They will not release numbers who are waiting to get on PDD. You have to go through a lot of loopholes, have very dedicated, advocate-minded doctors to be able to emphasize when they fill out the forms and the paperwork to fight for your children to get the supports they need. Unfortunately, our provincial government is changing. If you have a disability, there is a program right now. It's a government program where people with disabilities, people who can't work, get $1,901 a month to live. That's got to pay their rent, that's got to pay their utilities, that's got to pay their groceries. $1,901 a month. That is it. The federal government wanted to help people with disabilities, so they implemented the Canadian Disability Payment, which was an extra $200 a month for people on disability programs to help them come out of poverty a little bit. That's wonderful. It doesn't go a lot, but great. Thank you, yes. But our lovely government decided if you get the CBD, we are going to deduct $200 off your AISH payment, and you are still only going to get $1,901 a month, even though the government is giving you this extra $200. Oh no, we won't let the federal government give you more than you are allotted because we are the best program in Canada. So I have been doing a lot of advocating and fighting, and I sent emails to our premier, Jason Nixon, who is the Minister of Supported Living and Disabilities and the Advocate for Disabilities. I send them emails every single day about what they're doing to the AISH program. Not only are they deducting $200 a month from the AISH program, they want to take 8,000 people on disabilities in Alberta and move them all to a new program called ADAP, which they say the people with disabilities ask for to enable people with disabilities to work more so that they can get more money. Able-bodied people are finding it difficult to find work, sustainable work. There are not a lot of companies out there that will hire people with disabilities. What happens if they have an episode and they can't come into work for a day or two or a week? There's not a lot of people that are going to hire people with disabilities when they got people with no disabilities clamoring for work. And everyone on AISH, except if they're hospice, they'll automatically be moved to this ADAP program and qualify for AISH. My children have already qualified for AISH because when you get on PDD, you automatically qualify, and now my children have to requalify. Who's going to give me the $800 to get all that paperwork refilled for my kids again? The government, the federal government, already recognizes my children's lifelong disabilities because they get the disability tax credit. This government in Alberta is making people with disabilities jump through hoops to reprove their disabilities. I get that sometimes people cheat the system, but it's less than 5% of people cheat the AISH program. More people on welfare cheat the system than people on AISH. I am livid that they're taking away my children's stability, and for me to continue fighting long after they've turned 18 to make sure they're getting something to live on, that they're getting the supports they need. Even PDD, when I talk to my worker and the supervisor, nobody can tell me truthfully how this is all going to impact my kids. Next year, we have a very uncertain future of where this is going to go. How much more fighting do people with disabilities and their loved ones have to do to prove that they need supports and that they have disabilities? How many poor people out there with disabilities that don't have strong advocates or advocates at all? How are they going to do?
This is so infuriating to hear, and I'm feeling your pain. And we have people flooding the gates to come to Canada because they see it as a land of opportunity. I have lived overseas. I've lived in a third world country, and I understand their perception of Canada. And yes, we have many things that are, of course, better than maybe a third world country. When you hear stuff like this, it just makes you really feel that we have not progressed as a society. We have so many advocates now for things like people changing, like transgender or the new pronouns. We want to be inclusive of everybody. But the problem is when you can't physically see something in somebody, well, that must not be a problem. Or you must just be overstating it. Like if you have depression, well, you can't physically see it, but it affects everything in your life. When a child or an adult has autism and they look normal on the outside, they look like every other person, but they can't function the same way. And so people look at that and think, oh, you're just overreacting. Oh, you don't really need it. And it's just sad to see people having to struggle. So I guess my question to you would be, what can people do to help support this fight that you're in and advocacy? I know one person can make a difference because you can have that ripple effect. And I believe you have definitely already done that with your years and years of fighting for your own children. You have such in-depth knowledge of what you should say to your doctor, what kind of doctor to find. If you could give some tips on how people like myself who aren't in the fight on a daily basis, how we can help advocate, but also maybe some tips and tricks for people going through what you're going through and what to look for, even outside of your province and city. If you can maybe talk a little bit about that.
Research your doctors. You always have to start with a general practitioner. Don't stay with a general practitioner for your children's special needs. Find a good pediatrician when they are young. Research that pediatrician. You will know within the first meeting or two if this doctor is going to help you with your children. You will just get that feeling. Don't stay with a doctor that you don't jive with, that you don't click with. Get another referral. There are long wait lists, but you have to keep searching till you find the doctor that works with you and your family, that you click with. You have to do that. When you get in with the government, FSCD, keep pushing. Don't just apply and wait for them to get back to you. At least twice a month. Call that intake line or that waiting line. Where is my application sitting? How much longer do I have to wait for the application? Is there anything else I need to do? Is there something missing on my application? Why is it taking so long? Hound them. Hound them. Even as they get older, you hound them. And don't just make phone calls, because somebody can say whatever they want to you on a phone call or face-to-face. Always get things in writing. Always have a paper trail so that you can go back and say, well, on such and such a date, in my email to you, in your email to me, you said this, or I said that. Keep paper trails. Believe me, they will backtrack, and especially governments, they will backtrack, so keep that paper trail. Stand up for your children even in public. I've had to tell moms to leave my son alone in a McDonald's play palace because they are trying to discipline my child and they were agitating his anxiety, making the situation worse. Be firm, be polite, stand up for your children in public. And at school, this is what my child needs, this is what the doctor recommended, you need to do it. Start with your teacher, go up to the principal, go over the principal's head, go to the school board if you have to. If you're not getting the answers that you want, keep moving up. Your social worker, your FSCD worker, your PDD worker, if you are not getting results or answers that you want, go to their supervisor. And if the supervisor doesn't give you what you want, go to the supervisor's supervisor. You don't take no for an answer. If you are not getting what you want, the answers that you need, you keep moving. I belong to many disability support groups on Facebook. Make sure you have a network, people that you can vent to, that you can get ideas and tips from. Go to Facebook. There are so many helpful groups out there that you can network with, and they're a lifesaver. Make sure you take me time. You have to take some me time. Even when your kids are at home, if you can sneak an hour away, go take your dog for a walk. Just watch a TV show. Mom's room is closed for an hour. You have to schedule your me time or you will go crazy. It's emotionally exhausting. Some days are better than others, but every day is an emotional journey.
That is quite a lot, and it really is true. I mean, they tell parents before you even give birth to a kid or you adopt a child or whatever, the first thing they say, oh, take time for yourself, take time for yourself. And it is probably, especially as a mother, one of the hardest things to do because we're geared to care for the entire family and we're geared to give everything to everybody, but we do forget about ourselves. What is causing a lot of women to burn out and to have a lot of issues because you're not putting your mask on first to get your oxygen. If you don't have oxygen, you cannot help somebody else. Not only do you guys have a business, obviously you got to work, you got to generate money, but how do you balance this role and caring for your own mental health and emotional health and caring for your children and advocating? How do you keep it all together?
I found online caregivers agency. It's not trained therapists, but it's people that have similar life experiences to you. They will call you once a week, once every 2 weeks, whatever you need, and they will talk it out with you. It's somebody who's not in the situation that you can talk to. They will help bounce ideas with you, what you could do differently, what you could do better, what you could implement. I found that extremely helpful. Also, contacting your local mental health hotline, seeing if you can find a trained therapist to help you with therapy once a week. The Alberta government offers that for free. You just call the mental health hotline, they will hook you up. I have respite. It took me a while, but I found people to do respite for my children. I fought for 3 days of respite for each of them. So once a month, each child goes to their own respite provider for 3 days. They get a break from me. I get a break from them. They get a break from each other, which is big. These two are like oil and water. They trigger each other constantly, so they need a break from each other too. Once a month, I get together with my girlfriends. We craft or go shopping or go for lunch. You have to find that time. Also, having a really great doctor yourself, general practitioner. Since my son's been 3 years old, I have suffered from anxiety and depression, trying to get my son what he needs, making sure when Destiny came along, getting what she needs. I've tried to come off the depression medication and anxiety medication. I failed miserably. I had to take care of my mental health too, because like you said, if I can't take care of me, I can't take care of them. I've got 2 adult children, 2 dogs, 2 cats, I have a husband, I have a house, I have a business. There is a lot, even on neurotypical families that don't have special needs kids. Women carry a lot of burden, and when you have special needs kids, that burden is doubled or tripled sometimes. My calendar is full of appointments, therapies, social groups, haircuts, and dentist appointments. You think it ends when they're 18. It doesn't.
It's like a never-ending battle. I'm very sure your kids are so thankful for you, even if maybe they don't understand the work that goes through. But now that your kids are adults, how do you keep them engaged and supported? They have autism, they have ADHD. It doesn't just go away because they become an adult. Other than respite care, they've got a worker, which obviously they need a little bit more. Are there other ways that you help keep them engaged and supported?
Michael volunteers at a seniors lodge. He plays games with the seniors once a week for a couple of hours. He also volunteers at our local co-op. He's a stock boy and loves it. He loves engaging with the seniors. He loves engaging with the public. I get stopped in the stores or on the street so much. Oh, that's your son, Michael. He's great. He's so helpful. He's so wonderful. I'm very glad that he has those things. The people in our town are accepting of him and help him along the way. My daughter, unfortunately, has had some really bad mental issues over the last year and a half, 2 years. She was volunteering at animal rescues, but unfortunately she's been hospitalized a couple of times in the last year and a half. A new diagnosis has come up for her, and it's been more of a struggle for her to keep engaged in her community and with her social group. But we still try. We let her have a break, and when we think she's ready, okay, let's go back to your social group. She just went to a dance earlier this week and danced for 3 hours. She had fun. And we're slowly getting back to where she was before. It's been a long road because she is severely allergic to a lot of medications. She's been diagnosed with a mood disorder. She doesn't have enough markers to be bipolar, but they treat her as though she's bipolar because she's had so many side effects to so many medications. It's been a lot of trial and error for her to find something that helps her regulate better. Our special needs kids are already dysregulated a lot of times. With her new diagnosis of a mood disorder, she is even more severely dysregulated and sometimes can impact the safety of people in our house and sometimes in public. We're getting back to where she needs to be. It's slow, but we're getting there.
I'm really glad to hear that. Trying to balance it all does take years. A lot of medication could take more than 5 or 10 years to really get right. As people change from a kid to an adult, your bodies change anyway. I'm not a medical doctor, but a female's body is insane with how much we go through between hormones, and then there's this and then there's that. Women really go through a heck of more change. So balancing the medication and all that would take probably even more. And of course, there are more mood swings. It's got to be really difficult. I'm really happy to see your son is engaged in the community. It helps him being a part of that community, people knowing him. They must know he is autistic. It also helps them to understand what it is like for somebody. Now, yes, everybody's a bit different on the scale. Everybody reacts differently. But it is a really great way to bring awareness to mental illness. I don't know really what it's categorized as a disease, but people do need to be more aware and understand, like you said, you bring your kid to a public playground and an adult is probably thinking, oh, they're just being unruly. I probably would think the same thing. But we have to remember the amount of children with autism has greatly increased over the years. We do have to be more understanding and stop pointing fingers at other parents and instead try and be a help. Try and be understanding. Don't be afraid to ask the parent if there's something, because I'm sure you're so used to having to explain that you would be more than willing to explain so that your child is understood. What is the most important message you want to leave with other parents who are even just starting this journey that you have had?
Even though your children are not neurotypical, we call them neurodivergent, they are individuals. They have hopes, they have dreams, likes, dislikes. They want to belong. Their dreams are much stronger than your neurotypical kids. They feel everything more intensely, more explosive. They're just more. Even though my kids are both on the spectrum, they both have ADHD and they both have separate complex needs. They are as different as night and day. They are individuals and have their individual needs. You got to make sure that your children get what they need. Start from when they're young. Those complex needs do not disappear when they turn 18. They change, sometimes they improve, sometimes they get worse. Sometimes, like with us, a new diagnosis comes up, a new need comes up. You have to make sure that your kids' voices are heard and let them speak for themselves too. If they're able, let them speak for themselves because they know what they need. Even as a parent, sometimes I forget. If I'm having an emotionally exhausted day, they're dysregulated. I forget that I'll snap at them or I'll get mad or I'm frustrated or angry because they're not doing what I want them to do in that moment. Give yourself some grace. My friends are always telling me, give yourself some grace. You're doing the best that you can. Don't take it personally from your kids. You hate me. You don't love me. You don't understand me. You're just always angry at me. They still love you. You're their safe space. You are their soft place to land. I read something about neurodivergent people and kids the other day that look at who the first person they are rude to or disrespectful to. That is their person because they can be who they are because you are their safe place to land. So try not to take it personally when they are rude or disrespectful or angry with you because you're their safe place. They can be who they want to be with you. Some days I cry my eyes out because I think I'm the worst parent in the world. I should have done this or I should have done that differently. I'm human too. Sometimes I get dysregulated. I get emotional. I'm having a bad day too. And that's allowed.
I have not been diagnosed, but I am very sure I have ADHD. My entire life never felt I fit in anywhere because I'm different and I'm more bold. I feel emotions 100 times more than the average person, and it's really difficult for people to understand why I'll be so excited, and when I am excited and I'm passionate about something, it really shows, and it's a good thing. But when I'm angry, I'm very angry, and people are like, whoa, what's the problem? It's really difficult. You have to understand in yourself that this is who I am and I'm not going to apologize for it because society tells you that this isn't okay. I am who I am. I can learn to change certain aspects. But our society needs to also understand that not everybody fits into the same box. There are superpowers to a lot of neurodivergent personalities. My superpower is that my passion drives things and it can bring people to be like, wow, I need to listen. I'm not afraid to speak up, whereas other people are. I've tried to understand that I am different and that difference can either be a bad thing or a good thing, just depends on the day. We all struggle, we all have our good and bad days. Even neurotypical people need to understand more that people just don't function like they do. There used to be trainings on how to deal with millennials in the office because millennials were so different. We all need to be a little more understanding of people who are on the spectrum. I have a neighbor who has a daughter with autism and she's nonverbal. Just seeing how she has to deal with that every day, it really gave me a better understanding of why she does what she does with her other kids. What our world needs is more of this understanding, especially for people like yourself. You're going through hard times a lot. And like you said, you question yourself and feel down. Has there been a time which that you really felt like giving up? And through that, how did you just keep going?
I did at one point when my son turned 18, we moved him to a group home. I felt I can't do this anymore. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I need somebody else to take care of him. I tell you, that was the worst 2 years of my life. We emergency moved him out of that group home because I just needed him back at home. I needed him to be well cared for. I needed him to know that I hadn't given up on him anymore, that I needed to pick up that baton again and be there for him. We moved him back home. We both changed. We both grew. We both became better people because of that.
That's really inspiring because one of the things I've been learning is to own your story, all the good and the bad. We do things we might regret, but it was such a learning curve for you. It's inspiring to see how that helped you guys to grow closer together, helped you to navigate things a bit smoother, because I know this is so difficult Can listeners connect with you to learn more about your advocacy, to learn more about your work, and maybe get some helpful tips on how to navigate?
Oh, absolutely. I'm on Facebook. They can email me directly. I am all for helping people navigate these murky waters because it's a crooked path. It does not go straight at all.
Well, Tammie, I really want to thank you so much for sharing this story. It really is inspiring and it's very eye opening for people who have not had to live through that. Your journey is a powerful reminder that advocacy is not just about navigating systems, but it's about reclaiming your voice, dignity, and hope for ourselves and our loved ones. To our listeners, I want you to take heart from Tammie's example. Advocacy isn't about having all the answers, and it's more about showing up, demanding the supports your loved one deserves, and protecting your family's well-being along the way. So let Tammie's journey inspire you to keep moving forward, one step, one conversation, one breakthrough at a time. If her story resonated with you or sparked reflections of your own path, I encourage you to share with us at empresskupona@gmail.com or on social media. Use the hashtag #SpeakWildHealFree because your story holds power. Just as Tammie's does, it builds connection, awareness, and lasting change. We will put Tammie's email if you want to connect with her. I think it would be really great. She's a fierce warrior and an amazing resource to have in your corner if you are dealing with anything like this. I'm Mandy, and this is Empress Kupona, your healing voice. Breathe deep, speak wild, and heal free.